When the Muslim Brotherhood started, another thing, Tariq Ramadan is over in Europe, so he's the Linda Sarsour of Europe. When the Muslim Brotherhood started, they said, we want to have our children in the West so that they can understand the Western mentality, so that they can fight it from within. Because we are at a disadvantage, because we're not born and raised in the West, so we don't know how to talk to these people so that we can convince them of what we want to convince them. But our children will be able to do that, and our grandchildren will be able to do that. And everything that they had hoped for, unfortunately, is coming to fruition.
It's still going on. I mean, that same strategy from such organizations, especially the Muslim Brotherhood, is still going on. I mean, there are still so many people in the world, especially in the West, who don't really know, although the history is very rich about that, who don't really know how to define the Muslim Brotherhood, you know, how to really have an opinion about it, what opinion to have about it. So it sort of works what they are trying to do, but
yeah, and I think it's because people are confused because they see Muslim Brotherhood, and so they assume that they are just average, normal, everyday, law-abiding Muslim citizens. And so then they think if I speak out against it, that makes me a racist, or that makes me xenophobic, or it makes me a bigot, or whatever. But what they're not understanding is not all Muslims are anything. All Muslims, whatever you say at the end of that sentence is going to be incorrect. Just like if you say all men, all women, all Christians, all anything, you can't generalize like that. So it's important when they start to act as if all Muslims are one thing. Unfortunately, that one thing is always going to be terrorists or Arabs, or, you know, something, like I said, it's always going to be wrong. But when they do that, they're not allowing for the fact, the basic fact, that Muslims are a varied people, just like any other group on the planet. And most Muslims, yes, just like most human beings, I mean, all of us are living in comfortable societies, not full of serial killers, because most human beings are good people. Most human beings aren't murderers. Most human beings don't have terrorist tendencies, but some of us do, you know, and some of us have bad intentions. And it's important to differentiate between the average Muslims and the Muslims that do have negative intentions. And Muslim Brotherhood are a perfect example of that. And Hizb ut-Tahrir, and, you know, I could go on and on. There's Islamist organizations as well as jihadi organizations. Just because they don't have a sword and they're not taking sex slaves doesn't mean that they don't have the exact same mindset, the exact same goals, but they're just doing it in a different way. Islamists will do it through government, and jihadis will do it through violence.
Yeah, I would even expand that to organizations that exist in the West as well. I mean, I wouldn't say all of them, but there are specific organizations and specific movements and people.
Like CARE?
Well, kind of. I wouldn't equate that to the Muslim Brotherhood, but I would say there are definitely hints, and definitely very, very dubious and very obvious also things that they have done in their past. Ties that they still haven't maintained, that they don't want to renounce. That's just one example. There are so many others, you know. What came to my mind about what we just said about this, you know, Islam sort of creates this untouchable image in the world, and people can sort of do whatever they want. That reminds me of this of the Linda Sarsour case and the Women's March. I made a video about that just when it was happening. But you remember there was this case with the Nation of Islam when Linda Sarsour and Tamika Mallory, for example, went to one of their meetings and spoke with them together. They were hand in hand. They called Louis Farrakhan, Louis Farrakhan, our brother, our good brother, and stuff like that. And people just couldn't denounce that, you know. People just couldn't come together and say, sorry, why are you working with Islamic supremacists? Why are you working with racists? Why are you doing this? They couldn't come together and do this.
I mean, they're the liberal left. And this man is an unapologetic, anti-Semitic, homophobic, bigot and they can't speak up against him.
It's openly anti-white, openly anti-Semitic, openly homophobic. He has said many things about women before, and so much more. And the Women's March, which is supposed to be liberal, liberating, comes and walks with those people hand in hand and doesn't even make an explanation about it. This is
yeah, it was very, very confusing. But the good thing about stuff like that happening, I mean, not the good thing, but one positive result of that kind of thing happening is that people, sane, rational human beings, are seeing that, and it's making them speak up, right? There was Jake Tapper from CNN that spoke up against that, and Linda Sarsour called him alt-right or something, which is like...
You call Jake Tapper alt-right.
Yeah, so it makes people say, like, what is happening? These people are crazy. And that's what we want. We want people to see them for the crazy that they are, because what's frustrating is that people think that they are, you know, perfectly rational human beings, and that they think that they're their friends and that they're working together. I also have a lot of people on the far left that have to go into like, oh, you Nazi loving white supremacist, you know, same thing again. They just repeat the same like sound bites, like
I had even people from that side of the spectrum, even from the far left, as you say, telling me that Muslims sending me such insults and threats do that rightfully because I'm insulting them and their religion, which is why they can normally do such things to me.
MashaAllah, they are such good. Why don't these people just move to Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan or Pakistan, where the blasphemy laws are so strong, and that's the kind of countries that they would appreciate.
Spend a year there, or spend 2 years there, or just a few months, and then come back and say the same things again.
Yeah.
Dare you. Speaking of brainwashing, I wanted to ask you, how much were you involved in? That's a weird question.
The terrorist activities.
Yeah, I mean, how much were you like sucked into that?
So the new term, which didn't exist when I was growing up now, is people start to talk about Islamists. They talk about Islamism as if it's a separate religion. But I don't like to use the word Islamism because I feel like it's all Islam. But I will use the term Islamist now, which refers to a Muslim who is interested in seeing Allah's word ruling all of the planet.
Yeah.
So they try to spread Islam through the sword or through government or through immigration or through having babies or through whatever they want to spread Islam. That's where my family belonged. That's where I was. So we were always being taught that the caliphate will rise and it is our responsibility to join it when it does. And this is not, you know, my family were not unique, because this is why when ISIS became powerful, you saw people from Belgium, from the UK, from Australia, from Canada, from America, from all over the world. All of a sudden, they all just convened like moths to a flame. And everybody's wondering, how did these people get radicalized so quickly? It must be the internet. And they didn't realize, like, no, these people were from birth. They were told this will happen one day. And when it does, you have to join the fight. And I was one of those people. And I really did, you know, I think it's sort of like when Christians get told Messiah is going to come back. Like, yeah, you believe it, but you don't really think it's going to happen in your lifetime. But I did believe it, but I didn't think it was going to happen in my lifetime. And I'm glad that it didn't happen when I was still a practicing Muslim, because I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, as you said, I mean, people try to blame it on this and that, on politics, on the far right and whatever, you know, all the nonsense.
Unemployment.
Yeah, unemployment, absolutely. Poverty, and complete nonsense. But I mean, it's so easy to see, but people, the problem is when people see it, they just simply deny the existence of it from the very beginning, which is why they can't acknowledge that those people turn to that because of their own ideology. Go into the family, and if families gather and talk about all the people outside, about Christians and the Jews and atheists, it all just comes out. The thing is, they don't reflect it the same way when they are outside and talking to German people or to Canadian people, for example. But inside the house, the conversations that go on there are ones that you would call radical on social media nowadays.
Yeah, they have an inside voice and an outside voice. Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. In my family, which was a rather mysticist and peaceful family, as well as in other similar families, there was always this extreme verbally expressed hatred towards mainly Jews, then Christians, because we used to live among them, and then all the other ones. You know, they wouldn't even mention atheists by name, for example. They wouldn't even respect the existence of atheists. Atheists were just wicked, lost creatures who belong all to hell, and that was the mainstream talk of the Muslim community wherever I went in my life. And people refuse to see that.
Yeah, totally, 100%, completely agree with you. And the problem is when you give somebody like an Islamist, like these people that I was mentioning, you give them a microphone, and what do they say? Oh, we love America. We're Muslims and we fight, you know, the same fight you fight, and we're patriotic and we love the flag, and you know, and then they say all their bullshit, and you and I know that it's bullshit, and they know that they're spouting bullshit, but people want to hear that and they want to believe that. And then when you and I come out and we say the opposite is true, don't believe these people, they're not telling you the truth, they don't want to hear what we have to say, because what we have to say makes them uncomfortable, makes it difficult for them to continue on with their lives, living with their heads in the sand. If Linda Sarsour tells them something, oh no, you know, we're all patriots, then it's easy for them to say, oh, okay, no problem. You know, let's get on with our lives. But when you and I come along and say, no, that's not actually the case, then it makes it, then they have to do something about it, and they don't want to have to do anything about it.
Well, I think Linda Sarsour is the I don't know, the worst of that kind, I would say. Because if you come from a Muslim background, and if you are against it, if you broke free from that, then it's just so damn obvious what she's doing and what she's actually thinking when she makes tweets like, "Oh, can't we all just get along?"
Yeah,
Fuck you.